What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today I want to talk about the PlayStation because it sounds like Sony is about to finally bring PlayStation 3 games to the PlayStation 5, and honestly, people are very excited about it. So I want to break down why this is happening, how this is happening, and when it seems like we're actually going to get it. I hope you're having a great day. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So this last couple months has been very big for PlayStation when it comes to their retro stuff. Now, obviously, Sony is trying to do stuff with PlayStation Plus. Instead of just making it a way to play games online or have cloud saves and stuff, PlayStation Plus now has these different tiers of retro games and new games. Stuff like, obviously, they're giving us PS1 games and PSP stuff, but we've also seen the fact that they have just created a completely new PlayStation 2 emulator, which means games like Sly Cooper are actually dropping and are completely incredible. Like, Sly Cooper has always been good, but it's crazy cool to see it actually on current gen tech with trophy support and rewind features. I mean, it is actually great that it feels like Sony is finally realizing that people care about their older games. People will actually pay to play their older games, especially if they have cool new features. Well, this is a thing that people have been requesting the most, is that PlayStation 3 games have been this weird black hole where we keep getting super ancient stuff, stuff from the 90s and the early 2000s. A lot of PS1 and PS2 has been coming to PlayStation Plus, and honestly, a lot of those games look incredibly good in 4K. But with PlayStation 3, the way it's worked is that you can technically play them, but it's via streaming. It essentially creates an emulator at Sony headquarters, and you connect to it and you play it. Now, these games don't look too incredibly awful. If you have a very fast internet connection, it's playable at least. But the problem is that, honestly, this is just a bad solution. The fact that they have hundreds and hundreds of PlayStation 3 games that clearly they still have the code for, the accessibility, the digital rights, they still have these games, and yet we can't just download and play them in an easy way. Because honestly, even this, the delay is excruciating. Like, I just recorded this footage right before this video. The amount of times I'm actually editing out just making mistakes because everything has this weird pause to it. Streaming games is never going to be as good as being able to natively install it. Now, a reason people have been begging for this is because, honestly, it's not just that the PlayStation 3 has so many incredibly good games like the early Resistance stuff, Killzone, Metal Gear Solid 4. I mean, anybody could literally just list these off all day. Puppeteer, there's literally thousands of good games on the PS3 that are currently locked there. If a company has not personally made a complete remake or a remaster on their own, those games are just stuck there. A lot of those games aren't even getting PC ports and stuff. So apparently there have been talks that Sony has been working very hard to find a way to make a PlayStation 3 emulator. They want to try and make it so that if they actually get this code, this functionality up and running, anybody who already has a game can easily drag and drop it and then just sell it again on the PlayStation 5. Now, everybody is extremely happy about this. Better late than never. Heck yeah. A lot of this excitement is cool, but where is the information actually coming from? So a bunch of people have been chiming in about this idea of the PlayStation 3 emulator for a couple months, but it's mostly been this guy called Nick Baker, who has a pretty good track record for leaking, and Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb. Now, Jeff Grubb, in my opinion, is the best leaker in the business right now, but both of them are incredibly vague. Nick Baker just said that Sony is working on some sort of PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility, whereas with Jeff Grubb, he just basically said, I've been hearing it's been in the works for quite some time. I thought it was going to be revealed earlier this year when I first heard about it, but that clearly didn't happen. That doesn't mean it will never happen. Maybe it does. So this is interesting because I like the fact that they said, where there's smoke, there's fire. So the fact that so many different leakers have chimed in about this, even theoretically, I think this is a very good sign. I do think that the PlayStation 3, like, I feel like the strange thing is that the more time goes on, I think people, especially gamers, are beginning to miss that bygone era. Like, this is not just nostalgia, but I feel like old Ratchet and Clank games, weird Uncharted stuff, like I just feel like people are beginning to go, okay, how can I play that old stuff? How can I actually pay and support these developers? Like, these games are still so incredibly good. And I think people are going, yeah, it's possible if you have a good PC and stuff to emulate this stuff yourself. But I think a lot of people are like, okay, I've been a big proponent of vote with your wallets, actually buy and support stuff to show the fact that we want more of it. I think it's cool that PlayStation is finally creating a way to play their older stuff, to actually spend cash to purchase older games. I've said this before, and I'm sure I'll say it again. I want a way to officially buy any game that has ever been released. Like, I play a lot of stuff on Steam. I predominantly play on Steam now, and it's cool that there is so much stuff I can buy even from long, long ago. But it is weird to think about the fact that there is so many PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games. Like, where is Xenogears? There's just Bushido Blade. There's so much stuff from the past that is still 10 out of 10 fantastic that has no official way to actually play. And that's so strange to me. I think PlayStation, more than anything else, realizes the power of legacy. I think the Nintendo Switch has been doing an incredibly brilliant job of selling you old stuff and new stuff. Remakes of Super Nintendo games, but also just putting games on a Super Nintendo service. The fact that they sell you remakes and sequels and a new Pokemon that feels like the old Pokemon. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that even if you don't like Nintendo, they're monetizing their fan base in the way that the fan base actually wants to participate with the art, you know? All right, well, this is just some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you guys feel about PlayStation 3 emulation? I think this is a giant W. If it comes out and runs as good as the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 emulators they now have up and running, I mean, this is going to be a literal game changer. I think it's going to be... I genuinely think there's going to be entire YouTube channels of people just going back, and for the first time, I have talked to so many like fans and subscribers who grew up in the 8 years of the PlayStation 4 generation, who now as adults, the first console they're buying for themselves is a PS5. I think there's going to be a lot of people that go back and start to play PlayStation 3 stuff for the first time ever, and their brains are going to get a bit melted. But maybe I'm biased. What do you guys think about this? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.